Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. Aquadam.net. Give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, having to deal with the insurance company, not to mention the memories that are lost that you can never replace. To those who live in flood-prone and hurricane-prone areas, which is just around the corner, prepare now. Hurricane season is right around the corner. Visit Aquadam.net to see how they can help you prepare to avoid flood damage this season and every season thereafter. An Aquadam could be another tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. A cofferdam, using water to control water, that can protect your home, your business, your church, your neighborhood, like a dam, but without the beavers. Give Aquadam a call at 707-764-2119, 707-764-2119, or look them up online at aquadam.net. They're also on Facebook at Aquadam Inc., or call or email them today. They can help you out. Give them a call. Tell them Opperman Report sent you. Opperman Report, that's 10% off the price to anyone who mentions the Opperman Report.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. I was listening to those commercials, and I don't usually listen to them. And I really want to thank all those guys out there. KMD Law, Keith Davidson, and his incredible law firm. Has done some incredible cases out there. Testified before Congress. Worked on huge celebrity cases, but also will help out the average guy. If you need a good lawyer, definitely contact Keith M. Davidson and tell him Ed Opperman sent you. or contact me directly, and I'll hook you up. And I'll take care of that for you. Also, too, puresoapflakes.com. That stuff is really so good. And then aquadam.net. They just came up with a new product. This guy's a genius that runs that company, man. I got to tell you, I just love the sponsors. They're all good people. They just came up with a product that they can put around affordably around the average home to protect the average home from flooding and hurricane damage. So check them out at aquadam.net. Now, I'm Ed Opperman. I'm your host, private investigator, the president of Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. You can find me at emailrevealer.com, or you can email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Also, too, our website, our members section is at oppermanreport.com. All kinds of exclusive content you can't find anywhere else on the internet. Like 250 shows. We add up new shows every week or so. But by the way, we're about to switch up to Patreon. Okay, we're going to move, making a lot of changes here, guys, at the show. Okay, we're going to move some stuff. We're going to be doing 2 hours a week on the internet. AM, FM, 5 days a week. Will be unchanging. That will be the same. But for the podcast uploads, I'm sorry to say, okay, we got to make some changes. And we're moving to Patreon, okay? We're going to move the podcast to Patreon. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do 2 hours. The 3 hours I do on Friday night, I'm going to do the 2 hours and the 1 hour live. But the Saturday night shows, the 2 hour Saturday night shows, are going to go onto Patreon. You're going to have to pay for that. We're working all that out right now. But this is what we have to do. We don't have the support we once had. So that's what we got to make some changes there. Sorry. But expecting a lot of good stuff from Patreon, some new followers and listeners and stuff too from other Patreon podcasters are going to be supporting me. Let's see, what else? Our archives are always free. You can find them at Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. Go there. And if you listen on AM/FM radio, we do an extra live that I'm doing right now, Friday night. Live! I remember that time I was doing that broadcast with those guys, the Bernie delegates that were being arrested in Nevada. And I said, we're live on the air. What a dramatic show that was, man. Anyway, here we are. Friday night, live, 10 p.m. Way past my bedtime. Trust me. And what's going on this week? A lot of stuff for you that I've been working on for you. But it's so dark I can barely read my notes. Let's see here. It's the wrong page. I might have a problem here. Let me see where my notes are. We're going to have a very serious problem. Oh, well, here they are. They're over here. Here we go. I just found them. Just averted a catastrophe. Okay, got some big stuff going on. Check out the National Enquirer coming out this week's Wednesday in the month of September. There's going to be a big article there about the Ghislaine Maxwell and her connections to Clinton and Clinton Foundation. That's all my work, okay? I don't have the byline on that article, but it's my work. They came to me and I dumped a dump in their lap. And allegedly or supposedly, I'm supposed to get some credit for this. I'm going to mention my name in the article, so let's keep an eye out for that, okay? I don't know. I'm a little nervous that I might have been double-crossed in my efforts there. And they might omit my name in that article. But that's my work, guys. Trust me. Also, too, I got two big things going on. With the tabloids and and that kind of stuff, publications. One is a big story I'm selling into a book coming out about Ghislaine Maxwell and all that stuff I've been telling you about with her and the lobbyists and stuff like that. I got all that coming out. Okay, that's going into a book by a big best-selling author. I don't think my name will be mentioned in it, but my bank account will be profiting from it, okay, which is all that matters to me at this point. So that's some good news there. We're working on that right now as we speak. And, I went and I pitched around this story to the people, the people I have to pitch around these things to, which are, workers, type people. But a couple of big shots. And I said, hey, I got this information, and we want to sell it. The client, the source wants to sell it. We got a deal here. So one guy comes back to me. And he says, well, Ed, I got a source for you over there. Talk to them. And I talked to this reporter, and he comes back to me and says, well, we don't want this. But then I talked to another source, and the guy that runs the company contacts me. And he calls me, and he says, well, how are you going to work this out? Well, I'm going to give you your phone number. You're going to talk. He said, what about it? First he said, do you know so-and-so? And I said, no, I've never worked with so-and-so. Well, I want to put you in touch with him. But how do you want to do this? I says, well, have him email. Let's email first, and then I'll send him my phone number. So now I got his email and his phone number. Okay, this is a huge media conglomerate contact. The guy at the very top. All right? I sent him my number. He calls me up. Ed Opperman, I'm a huge fan. And I said, oh, BS, man, you're a fan, aren't you? And he starts talking about my shows. The guy's been following my stuff on Epstein and Maxwell and stuff like that for a couple of years. The guy really is a listener to this show. So very, very cool and very, very good connection that we just made here this week. So we got that deal going on, and then I got another deal going on. Another big story that's kind of come out that I haven't even put together yet, but it's another huge story about the whole OSU, Ohio State University, and Jim Jordan, stuff like that. So working on a lot of good stuff here, guys, and I feel really good about that. We're making some progress in all the stuff I'm doing. Finally, right? So let's see. We got that. We got Patreon, right? Okay. Another thing I want you to take a look at. By the way, I have no contacts in right now. I can't see anything. I wrote my notes on a pad and trying to read them. And I can't see even what the time is. Today has been such a crazy day, Every day I pick up my dad and I take him for a walk on this pier out here, by this bridge. We walk back and forth to get exercise, because it's really the only exercise I can do right now because of my arm. Although I'm doing some swimming too. But my dad is, he's old, 88 years old. And he's in good shape, but he's lost his routine. So anyway, I take him out every day and try and have some contact with him every day. Take him out there, drive him around as much as I can. And he likes to be independent, Oh, I got to be careful because he listens to the show now. I don't normally send these Friday night shows over to a WWPR AM 1490. But when I do, he does listen religiously each night. So anyway, I do my walk with my dad. He get all sweaty and it's hot because it's very humid here in Florida. And then driving home, there's a thump, on my tire. How it gets that bulge, on the side. The tire breaks, It's not a flat tire, but it's a break in the tire, And if you keep driving like that while it's thumping around, it will break. It will blow, get a flat. So I'm still in my sweaty clothes. I drop off the old man, and I says, well, where's this? I don't want to name it a place, but where is this place where I bought the last tire? And I went in there on a Sunday morning. They took me up in 20 minutes, got me in and out, boom, boom, boom. Because everywhere else I called up, they couldn't even order my tires in this little tiny town where I live now. We got to order your tire from Georgia. It'll be here in a week. I says, well, what? I'm from Vegas. I get a tire in one day. There's 100 tires to it. But what do you call it? So I go in there and I says, let me just drive in there, man. I got to do an interview at 12. Let me get in there and get out, see if they can get me in. I go in and talk to the guy, and he tells me, well, I can't help you today, man. Are you kidding me? No way. He says, we're doing one tire an hour because 18 of my employees are out with COVID. This is a small business, and 18 of their guys are out with COVID, man, So I says, whoa. I says, okay, dude, let me get out of here, He says, well, go over to the other branch over there, the other side of town. I drive down there. They swap my tire out. I got to drive all the way back. I do my interview. And then I got to go and drop my car off because I don't even know if I told you this, guys, but I got rear-ended. Oh, what the hell? That was scaring the crap out of me. I got rear-ended a couple of weeks back when I was dropping Vic off at the airport, So I had to take that down to get fixed. Get rear-ended, right? Driving home from the airport. And this little old man hits me. pull over to the side of the road, highway there. And the poor guy, he's stumbling out into the traffic, just barely crashing into him and stuff like that. I had to pull him over to the side of the sort of safety. He's trying to pull his paperwork out, it's blowing all over the place. Oh my God! It's way too old to be driving, but thankfully the insurance is covering everything for him. Maybe you're getting screwed on these kind of deals, but the insurance is covering everything. So I had to go drop the car for the body shop, and then go to the car dealership and get a rental car. Tomorrow I got to go pick up Vic from the airport. So, miserable, busy day today. I'm exhausted. You have no idea. I did an interview with these people with this. It's a bit more of a local stuff that I'm doing here for the local station. Local legal advocates for people down here in Florida. So anyway, that's been my day. I don't know about your day. My day hasn't been that good. But I get to see my beautiful daughter tomorrow morning. 2 o'clock, I pick her up at Tampa Airport. Okay, let's see. Now, one thing I want to advise you about and make you aware of is this Fort Hood Sergeant, Elder Fernandez, okay? That was missing from Fort Hood. He had made some complaints about a sexual battery toward himself, and he was humiliated by this, and he's missing for a few days, and they found him hung by a tree out in the middle of the desert, where they found another body nearby recently. Now, this is the 9th death at Fort Hood, mostly related to people making allegations about sexual harassment and sexual abuse and sexual battery, which sexual battery is rape, okay? The men being raped, women being raped at Fort Hood down there. It's rampant. It appears to be down there. And so I'm working on that. I'm in contact with a couple of lawyers down there. I'm trying to get them to come on the show and talk to you about it and explain to you what's going on. Keep your eye on this. They're demanding a congressional investigation on what's going on down there at Fort Hood. Keep your eye on this, guys. We need to draw attention to this because this is something that's real. Now, something that's not real, that's floating all over the internet right now. What is this? Let me see if I can find my notes. Is 39 Georgia children rescued from a trailer. They were being sex trafficked by a sex trafficking ring, and they were in a trailer there being held. Guys, you got to really take a close look at this story, okay? And people say, well, why isn't the media talking? This is a huge story. There's a sex trafficking ring where they're holding 39 children. What's going on here? The U.S. Marshals, going around. Thank God Mr. Trump is working on this. Okay, and nothing can be further from the truth. Take your time, read all the... By the way, there's many articles about this. People are saying, why isn't the media talking about this 24/7? There's many articles about this. Some of them are total bogus, regurgitated nonsense by hucksters and clowns on the right wing. But the fact is, with this case, if you look at these cases, okay, it is a U.S. Marshals federal government case. They went in. But what they're doing is they're identifying and locating people with warrants, old warrants, weapons warrants, parental alienation warrants, that kind of stuff. And they're going in there and they're coming across kids. And there's about 15 out of these 40 cases do involve alleged sex trafficking of children. Okay? Maybe the father has a rape warrant, and then they find kids. But the majority of these cases, I fear, are people being arrested for weapons warrants and drug warrants, and they're taking their kids and putting their kids into the foster care system, which doesn't rescue them from human trafficking, but increases their risk of human trafficking and rape and molestation. So the titles of these articles that are out there are very, very misleading. You got to take your time and read these articles and compare them with other articles and stuff like that. I haven't taken the time yet to contact the public information officers of this unit, and get to the bottom of this, but I will, promise you, I do this kind of stuff. But people should not be deceived that you think that there's this big federal effort to rescue children. There really isn't. There is not. And in fact, I believe it's the exact opposite when you look what's going on down at the border and things like this, where they're taking kids from families. Maybe the guy had a gun possession, they're snatching their kids away from them and putting them into the foster care system, which increases the risk of children to be raped and molested and trafficked beyond anything, And some of these kids, it does seem that they were being trafficked, or maybe they were runaway teens, that were being trafficked, involved in the sex industry, sex workers. But this idea that there's some effort out there to rescue these kids, it's not. It's not out there, guys. I've tried to rescue kids and teenagers and young women and stuff like that, and there's no help out there for these people whatsoever. And I've gone on this airtime, and I've begged the audience, find someone to help me. And people say, well, call the police. Every time you call the police, and these people every time the girl Maddie, I was trying to help, every time she ever came into contact with police, she was arrested. Okay? So this idea to call the police to get help for these people, it's just not there. Okay. Ooh, Jerry Falwell Jr. Okay, got some stuff for you on that. Big story out this week in the mainstream media about how how Jerry Falwell Jr., right, and this pool boy and his wife, and the current story. I've been reporting on this too from a year ago, June 2019. And I tried to find the original show when I first talked about this, because I have been hearing the gossip behind the scenes about this. And today I got some great new, excellent, well-sourced information from an unnamed source. I can't name him. But this is another guy who, when I contacted him about something else, he came back to me and said, hey, I'm a big fan. And then he made some comments about conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And I kind of dismissed it. And I said, this guy's trying to be like he's insulting me. This guy's being rude to me. And I was turned off by it. And then I mentioned, hey, this is my client. This is my lawyer. This is my agent. And he had a beef with them too. So I said, oh, great. Now I'm on the outs with this guy. But he's come out with some new information because he's very familiar with this whole thing with Michael Cohen and Jerry Falwell Jr., the pool boy, the pictures, the blackmail, all this stuff. So I reached out to him and I says, hey man, off the record, what do you know? And doing that, I went back and I read the original email where he said, I'm a fan. And in that original email, he does listen to the show. He listens to the show. He described listening to the show. The ones about is Trump a sex pest with Barbara Pilling and Heather Braden, those shows, the producer and the main investigator on that BBC program lived at his house and stayed at his house for a while, and they both listened to those shows together, so they listened to this show. So it's opens up a whole new awareness for me. But he comes back to me and he says, hey, Ed, there's more than one pool boy. Okay? Now, here's what I know about the pool boy. Maybe my information's wrong, but this is my information that I know, okay, that I'm reporting to you. This is what was reported to me originally and what I'm reporting back to you. The story is this that came out, is that Jerry Falwell Jr. and his wife were at a hotel down in Miami. They met the pool boy, and the pool boy was homosexual and had an affair with Jerry Falwell Jr. Then somehow Jerry Falwell Jr. invested like $2 million with this pool boy for a teen hostel in Miami. Now, if you look at the reviews of this teen hostel, it's all kind of stuff about how there's shady, there's drug dealing going on there, there's homosexual prostitution going on there. It's not a nice place whatsoever, okay? And Jerry Falwell Jr., the moral majority son, is part owner of this place. So then came out stories about how, what's he doing partners with this pool boy? By the way, he's an aquatics engineer. He's not just a pool boy. This guy's, they actually call him an aquatics engineer. All right, but it came, ultimately came out. Then more came out. Then recently this week it came out that the official story they're trying to peddle to you right now. About 6 months ago, they tried to say, well, his wife had an affair with the pool boy, and the pool boy has pictures of the wife. And that's why they were being blackmailed. And Michael Cohen went in there and said, hey, you're blackmail. This is a crime. You're blackmailing my client. And we're going to turn you over. And Michael Cohen saved the day. And then Jerry Falwell Jr. endorsed Donald Trump for president. Now, what's come out since then is that it's come out in text messages and FaceTime images and stuff like that. The official story right now by the Falwells Juniors is that the pool boy was having an affair with Jerry Falwell's wife, and Jerry Falwell would watch. Okay, now Tom Arnold came out with information, came out in an article and said, "Hey, I'm friends with Michael Cohen, and Michael Cohen told me that there's a picture out there, and Michael Cohen still has this picture of Jerry Falwell standing there naked, taking a picture of his naked wife, and there's a reflection in a mirror of Jerry Falwell Jr. taking a picture of his wife, talking to the pool boy, or with the pool boy." Okay, so there's all that kind of cuckold kind of fantasy going on here with Jerry Falwell Jr. But now what I'm finding out now is that there's other pool boys out there. There's a bunch of them out there too. Okay, so that's exclusive. You're hearing this from the Opperman Report, from my sources of gossip mongers, confidential sources. So even trust me, you don't, man. But hey, who was on that thing? Who was on that story a year ago, man? Before anybody telling you about that, nobody. Okay. Let's see how we're doing on time because I don't have my contacts in. We're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good on time, even though I don't have my contacts in. But since the whole next segment is going to be about this guy, Mell Hall, this New York Yankee, and a whole bunch of cast of characters that I've been uncovering this week, I'm going to take a commercial break right now and then come back to with more of the Opperman Report. And if you like this show, check out me on Twitter. Opperman Report on Twitter, Opperman Report on Instagram, and soon to be Opperman Report on Patreon. Because we're making a lot of changes around here, okay, as far as the way we're going to be broadcasting. Because if you want to sponsor the show and advertise on here and keep us on AM/FM radio where we have access to these bigger guests and these kind of people, that would be a big help to us. If you have a product you want to sponsor, you want to advertise it on here in Nevada, California, Florida, Utah, and if you're in another state, we can get you on another state. We just need the money, okay? Let's be right back after these messages with the Opperman Report. And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, there we go. Okay, well, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm trying to do the show without my contact lenses in because I have a little irritation to my eye, and I kind of screwed up that little. I had the mute on the microphone. But welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at Opperman Report. Okay, follow us there. Now, a lot of people listening to the show will know that I was the private investigator in the 2016 lawsuit against Trump and Epstein, okay? And I've vetted out other cases in the Epstein stuff like that, these kind of child sexual molestation, statutory rape type cases, you know? I just had one recently about this young Disney star that we're settling out right now, not to my satisfaction, but we are settling it out. And it was one where there was a lot of physical and emotional abuse, and in this case, then you find out that like a lot of there's different kinds of these things. You know, these young girls, they're groomed and manipulated, and they think they're in love with their abuser. They have an attraction to their abuser. You know, and then there's some where they're just being taken advantage of. You know. They're manipulated, they're paid, and then some is outright brutal force rape and then blackmail and withholding food, and all kinds of stuff. You see all different kind of cases. I came across a case this week of a New York Yankee named Mell Hall, who was a very flamboyant player. He wasn't a very great baseball player. But very flamboyant type of guy. And they even talk about how he had the slow, he was a hard swinger, so he would get a lot of home runs, but a lot of strikeouts too. So he didn't have a great batting average, runs batted in. And when he would slam out a home run, he would do the slow jog, right? The longest, lap around the bases there, ever recorded. And trying to attract attention to himself. An egomaniac. And I came across this article about him, and he was there in the right field or center field, and he saw some little girls, in the corner. He started flirting with them, and pretending he was going to throw a baseball to them, and they, throw us a ball, these little kids, And then the little kids wrote him a letter and say, hey, send us an autographed baseball. And he says, well, he called them up. He said, I remember you. I said, I got a crush on you. I want to date you. These are little kids. And he sinks his teeth or claws into this little girl, telling her, he wants to date her, he wants to marry her, he's a crush on her, he wants, and here's this wealthy New York Yankee. The parents are starstruck and big Yankee fans and baseball fans, And the little girl, was like, oh boy, everyone looks up to him. My parents look up to him. He's a star. He's giving me all this attention. And in some ways, I kind of think that kind of a victim is a worse victim than the ones that are just brutally brutalized. I have a client right now who was physically battered, sexual battery by a nephew of one of Trump's impeachment lawyers, and totally getting away with what he did, But here's this young girl, she meets this famous baseball player. And at 15 years old, he lures her away from her home, from her parents, and gets into a sexual relationship with her. And ultimately, where she winds up living in Trump Tower, on the same floor as Donald and what was that one? Tiffany's mother, Marla Maples. Marla Maples and Donald Trump are living down the hall from this guy, Mell Hall, and a high school kid, a high school girl. Okay? And they go on and talk about how Mell Hall had his limo driver keep an eye on her during the day and not let her go out, not let her see other people, not have friends. So she was basically kept in his house as a slave, where he was allowed to go out with his buddies and go to strip clubs and stuff like that, but she loved him. This little kid loved this larger-than-life hero baseball player. And here she is living in Trump Tower, one of the most glamorous places. And this billionaire, Donald Trump, is living down the hall. And Donald Trump and his girlfriend or wife at the time, I forget, Marla Maples, actually went out on double dates with Mell Hall and his high school girlfriend. Now, she never actually graduated high school because he made her drop out like a month before her graduation. Until this day, she doesn't have her high school diploma. And she describes, too, one day about how Donald Trump came to her. And Donald Trump became pissed off with Mr. Hall because Hall wasn't paying the rent. And she says how Donald Trump approached her one day, all confident and smiling, saying, well, what are you doing with that loser? All right? And if you look back at previous shows I've done, where Jeffrey Epstein claims that the reason why he had his falling out with Donald Trump is because Donald Trump would like to sleep with his friends' wives, and he would go through all these machinations and the schemes, to create these situations where he would get his friends' wives jealous, and then he would move in and have sex with his friends' wives. That's the reason why Jeffrey Epstein gives that he had a falling out with Donald Trump. This is before Donald Trump ever made any kind of public statement of why he ended his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that story is confirmed by Michael Wolff, who wrote the book Fire and Fury, who was embedded into the White House, who was very good friends with who? Steve Bannon. Okay. Steve Bannon was also very good friends with Epstein. And Steve Bannon also has publicly stated he believes in my lawsuit, my Jane Katie Doe lawsuit, the 2016 lawsuit. He says, well, what about that 13-year-old that made allegations about Trump? That's words out of Steve Bannon's mouth, who knows both Epstein and Trump intimately. Okay? Now, this guy, Mell Hall, is a sleazy dirtbag. He's in prison right now. Another guy who's friends with Trump, hanging out with Trump and teen girls, just like Jeffrey Epstein was on a plane with Trump and a teen girl, right? Is this a pattern we see here, an obvious pattern? Is it? No, you just hate Mr. Trump, but you're just Trump derangement. Listen to the facts I'm presenting to you right now and tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me, up until right now, where am I incorrect? And there's not one thing I'm telling you that's incorrect so far. That you can come back. Well, Ed, what about, when Mr. Trump found out about Mr. Epstein, he banned him from the you're getting that from a guy that co-wrote a book with Bill Clinton. Okay? So if you hate Clinton and you give me that information, you're presenting to me information that's made up out of whole cloth from one guy's testimony who hangs out at Mar-a-Lago with Trump, with Clinton, with all these guys doing this stuff. That's where that information comes from. Okay? I tell you where my information comes from. Okay. This guy Mell Hall goes on the next few years, and he becomes, he was a mediocre player at best, and then he goes and becomes like a high school, middle school coach for basketball and for baseball girls, little girls he's coaching, and he's such a loser, man. He spends all his money's gone. He's got no money. He's got no cell phone. He's got borrowing cars, borrowing phones, and living on people's couches and spare bedrooms in their house. Because, I want to coach your daughter and give her special attention. And people let them into his house where he's molesting their kids. Some of the homes he was in, the little girls were as young as 10 years old. Okay? Well, this was going on. People caught him. No one called him out. No one really, until one of these girls got brave enough to get old enough and did her own investigation, gathered up other witnesses, and they went to the police. But up until then, he socialized with people like Donald Trump that looked the other way and his behavior and his activity. If Donald Trump was so disgusted about Jeffrey Epstein, why wasn't he so disgusted about Mell Hall? He was not disgusted until he stopped paying rent. Until then, they were buddies, dinner companions, double daters. That's the fact, according to victims. If you don't believe victims, don't believe victims, okay? But then don't make up stuff like Liz Cronkin, okay? Now, here we have a case, right? We're going to establish a pattern here. We have a case here where a guy's on the same floor as Donald Trump with a teen sex slave living in his house. She's not allowed to leave. The limo driver's keeping her there, keeping an eye on her, right? But she's in love, okay? At the time. Now she's awake and aware now. She knows what's going on now. But doesn't this story sound familiar? Because there's another guy named R. Kelly in Chicago who lived in a Trump property who had preteen sex slaves living in his place in cages, urinating on them. Now, these kind of buildings, guys, okay, they have doormen, they have security guards, they have maintenance people. There's not a lot of secrets in these buildings. If you bring cages into a building, there's a guy with a teenage girlfriend living in the building, you can't. There's landlord-tenant laws that if you have somebody staying in your apartment for over 30 days, they have to do a credit check on them too, because now they're a legal tenant. They've established residency, and you have to evict them too if there's a problem. Okay? So you have to come back and say, well, no, this is a 15-year-old kid. This is a 16-year-old kid. It's a 13-year-old kid staying in my apartment. This isn't an 18-year-old. Well, what's their name? Who are they? You know what I'm talking? What's your relationship to them? All this stuff this is not like, you're out in the woods on a farm. You got some people staying at your place, crashing on your couch. These are multi-million-dollar properties. Now, speaking of multi-million-dollar properties in these apartments at the Trump Tower, who else has Trump been associated with the Trump Tower? Well, one of them was Liberace. When Liberace was staying in New York, Trump gave him a free apartment. Now, do you know the story about Scott Thornton, who was like 14 years old when Liberace got his hands on him, and he became Liberace's little boyfriend? And Scott Thornton was getting plastic surgery to look like Liberace. And Scott Thornton is in prison right now, by the way, doing like life in prison. Okay? Because, it was a relationship with Michael Jackson, was there with the Four on the Floor murders, the Wonderland murders there with the Eddie Nash and all this stuff like that. Went into witness protection program. It was hanging out with Dennis Hoff, and Dennis Hoff was taking care of him raw. Well, Donald Trump was good old buddies with Liberace. Gave him a free apartment. at Trump Tower. Same kind of thing going on. You know, Donald Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr., talk about, well, my dad can't be racist because when we were little kids, he let us play with Michael Jackson. So Donald Trump is also friends with Michael Jackson. It's kind of, well, let me see. Who do we have so far on this list? We got Jeffrey Epstein, Mel Hall, convicted in prison. Jeffrey Epstein, convicted in prison. Dead now, supposedly. We have Ghislaine Maxwell, a friend of Trump, in jail right now, facing these charges. We have Michael Jackson, Liberace, openly, with a 14-year-old boy for years and years and years. He's in prison, the little boy, as an adult now. Is this a pattern to you? It's a pattern to me. But we're to deny all this and say, well, no. Donald Trump is rescuing the victims of these things, right? Well, he's rescuing the victims. Okay. Well, who else is Donald Trump friends? Well, let's take a look on my list here. Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent's been to the White House. Now, what's her name? Courtney Love says that Ted Nugent, when she was with Ted Nugent as a young preteen, giving oral sex to Ted Nugent. Well, it's an accusation. Maybe she's not a reliable source. But, again, another friend of Donald Trump has these kind of allegations around him. Been to the White House. Sly Stallone. Sylvester Stallone. Been to the White House, friends with Donald Trump. Not just has these allegations, but also paid a huge settlement to a young preteen family member accused of molestation, sexual abuse, sexual battery. And he paid a huge lump sum to this victim, but also paid like $50,000 a month for therapy. Okay? These are huge sums he paid. Okay? Is it a pattern yet to you? It's a pattern to me. Is it a pattern to you yet? John Casablancas. Well, let's see. He let his sons go with Michael Jackson. And he let his daughter go with John Casablancas. Now, John Casablancas, and there's a lot of stories about him. They're very well-known stories. Bring little preteen girls to Studio 54 for photo opportunities, drinking milk and cookies off of silver platters at Studio 54s. But there's also a verifiable fact that he married a girl that he met when she was 14 years old. He married her when she was like 16 or 17. So there's all the stories and allegations about John Casablancas, but then there's the factual, documented facts of what went on with John Casablancas. And Trump was very good friends with John Casablancas, and then allowed his little preteen daughter to be a model for John Casablancas. Okay. Just another coincidence. George Nader. Arrested on his way to Mar-a-Lago with child porn on his phone. Meeting with Michael Flynn and Manafort and Jared, all these people at a time when he was convicted of raping little boys. Charged with possession of child pornography, but got away with it on a technicality. Now, so just of the few, when does it become a pattern? When does it become more than a coincidence that this guy has no problem? I don't know this many people convicted of these crimes. I know a couple that are in my personal life that convicted of these crimes, and I deal with criminals all day long. Okay, people, criminal defendants all day long. But here you got a serious pattern with a guy, and there's some kind of really delusional people out there that want to say, well, oh no, and he's rescuing these people. And he's not part of this, He's actually rescuing them. What evidence is there of that? Some bogus, 40 kids rescued and blah, blah, blah with this U.S. Marshals thing, It turns out there's like only 15 of them were actually being sex trafficked. The rest were all weapons, warrants, and stuff like that, and they're taking away their kids and putting them into the foster care system. Hey. Last thing I want to talk about is this 17-year-old who had a shootout or, shot and killed 3 people at this this protest march the other night. Okay. And there's a lot of people who want to think, well, this is self-defense, right? And one of their reasons is they want to say it was self-defense because one of the guys he shot had a gun. Well, then why wasn't it self-defense for the guy he shot in the arm? Why wasn't it his self-defense to be holding a weapon in his hand? Now, I've looked into this. I've talked to some people who were there on the scene and pieced all this together. And from what I'm understanding is this kid is 17 years old. He's not a licensed armed security guard to be down there protecting any kind of property. He was a cadet, police cadet, fire cadet, all this kind of stuff like that. He was associating with and fraternizing with the police who were at the scene. They were giving him water. They were jacking him back and forth. After he was pointing his weapon at people, and then later going around and saying, I'm a medic, do you need medical help? He's wearing surgical gloves, holding his weapon. And people were saying, well, but this is the same guy who was just pointing his gun at me a few minutes ago. So the crowd had enough of his behavior, and they started chasing him down. He makes a run for it. Supposedly, there was a gunshot fired in the air. He turns around, he falls down, and starts shooting people randomly. Okay? Then he walks toward the police he was just friendly with and all stuff like that. He walks right past, and they let him walk right past with his hands up with the gun. They let him escape the scene of the crime. The cops don't even render aid to the people who were shot. Okay? I know people who will complain about the protesters, say, well, they're thugs and they're rioters and they're looters and they're burning things down. Okay, we'll say, well, he was acting in self-defense. Now, here's what I want you to understand, because I've worked these kind of self-defense cases in reality, not from watching TV, not from watching movies, not from watching the news, real life and reality. Now, most of these shootings, disputes between people, okay, or long-running disputes in neighborhoods, in projects, okay, and there's 2 guys that have a beef with each other for a long time, and they're both armed for their own self-defense, for their own self-protection, right? And one day they run into each other, okay, or maybe there's words over the phone, they go confront each other, and one guy's quick on the draw, he gets his gun out first, and he kills the other guy, or the other guy misses, shoots him back. And the defense is self-defense, okay? And they always lose. They wind up in prison, okay? Because they wind up pleading guilty because they can't put up a defense. Now, that's reality. Well, I don't care what you see on TV and tell you, Ed Opperman, in Texas here, or in Florida here, we have a stand your ground law, and we're allowed to do it. Okay? Well, I'm telling you what happens in reality, okay? And all you guys out there tell me this, we're standing your ground, self-defense. We're allowed to do this. You show up at my door, I'm going to shoot you. Okay. All you guys who say this stuff right like that are the same people, the very same people. See, because when these 2 guys in the projects run into each other, and one guy shoots the other guy in his head because of self-defense, what happens is there's an article in the newspaper the next day saying 2 men with a long-running dispute, or 2 men confronted each other in a parking lot, and one man shot the other. And the same people who say, well, I have a right to self-defense, and this boy here had a right to self-defense, those same exact people will say, well, this guy should get the death penalty. The newspaper just told me that there was a dispute, one guy shot the other guy. Well, they should get the death penalty, they're killing themselves, and put them away. The courts are too lenient. The courts are too, they're coddling these prisoners. There's too much crime. The very same people who think in their heads that they have this right to defend themselves are the very same people that if they ever try and do that, okay, are going to wind up in the newspaper saying there was a dispute and he shot another guy and killed him in cold blood. And all your friends And people that agree with you on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that are going to say, you need to go to prison. You need the death penalty. Now, that's reality, man. And come back at me and tell me all you want. Well, it was self-defense. I saw this. Well, I'm trying to explain to you how reality works, man. You know? And I don't carry a gun around with me every day because I got a really bad temper and I would use it. You know? So be careful about when I arm myself. The conditions I arm myself in. All right? Because I know that it's a losing game. Okay? To use a weapon, theoretically, in self-defense. And you guys who think it's okay for these McCloskeys to be waving a gun around and people walking by their house, just remember, if you think that's okay, then you're saying you think it's okay that when you have an argument with your neighbor about the trash can or parking on that you think it's okay for them to wave a gun in your face. Okay? Because that's exactly what it is. If you have a complaint with your neighbor about property damage or trespassing, okay, that you think it's okay for them to be able to wave a gun in your face. All right? I mean, people have to get their heads out of their asses, man, okay? You have a much better chance of winding up on that defendant, the defense table, in a criminal case than you ever will of having the government or the prosecutor prosecuting a case on your behalf. Because this is what I do every day. And you need to get your heads out of your asses, man. All right, let me see if we're out of time. Because I'm out of breath, energy, and patience. And let's see. I squint real hard, and I see we're done. Okay? And I'm a happy man. I got through another night here of the Opperman Report. I just got to set up this ending commercial. You type in FIN, which is finish. Ouch. Just hit my head against the microphone, but I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Okay. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Opperman Report. Okay, we need followers right now. And share my stuff, you know. Retweet it. All that kind of stuff, you know. Spreaker, go to Spreaker.com. Forget YouTube. Leave me alone on YouTube. And go to Spreaker.com. That's where all the real good content is. That's where the chat room is. And that's where I get paid. I don't get paid for anything on YouTube. Help us out here. And Patreon, we're going to be moving the member section over to Patreon. There's going to be no more member section. If you're a member now, keep that in mind. And we'll move you over to Patreon somehow, some way. We'll figure it out. But for now, thank you so much for listening. I hope all is well with you out there. You know, things are so bad. I'm just, they're opening up the schools here in Florida. I'm watching this avalanche about to come down here. And it's terrifying. You know, we went on a walk the other day, and we ran into one of the nursing home workers who took care of my mom. And the nursing home had like 130 people in their patients, or inmates, what do you call them? You know, whatever, clients. And 90 of them died, you know. So people out there, man, I know there's a lot of crazy people in Florida not wearing masks. They're getting sick left and right. They're dying left and right down here. If you're out there in the country, please, man, wash your hands, social distance, wear your freaking mask, you know. Talk to your governor. Call the governor, man. Tell him, hey, man, put a halt on these evictions, on these school openings until this stuff blows over, man. Yeah, this is crazy. All right, good night. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate everybody that listens and sends you those kind words of support, and especially to the guys that are chewing on and these guys help me out with the podcast and stuff like that. I really appreciate you all, and I can't thank you for your help. Thank you so much.